Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Bala sir, for inviting me for this talk over here today. We know that by a very careful ocular examination, also we will be able to arrive at a clinical diagnosis in uveitis. But we do have certain imaging modalities like FFA, ICGA, OCT, B scan, OCTA, which will help us in and also diagnosing the ocular inflammation. Now these investigations, they not only help us in diagnosing, but they also help us to see if the ocular inflammation is well controlled after we have started the treatment. So I will show you a few case scenarios where the investigations have helped us in treating the patients better and how it helped us. So this was a patient, a young female, a 32-year-old female, who had come with, who was a known case of SLE, and she was treated with immunosuppressive drugs and with oral steroids. She initially went cataract surgery, and after she underwent cataract surgery, her vision improved to 6/12 in both the eyes. Later on, after 6 months post cataract surgery, she came with complaints of decrease in vision in both the eyes. So when we see her fundus photograph, we see that there is no active uveitis at all. Her fundus picture, it looks absolutely normal. Then we suspected it could be macular edema. We did an OCT. The OCT also showed no evidence of macular edema. So our next thought was like, is she having any macular ischemia? So we thought of doing a fundus fluorescein angiogram. So when do we do a fundus fluorescein angiogram? Usually to delineate the areas of capillary non-perfusion and the areas of capillary perfusion. So we did an FFA for this patient and look and see what we found. We found that the patient had got active vasculitis in both her eyes, and she also had an optic nerve involvement. So this shows that the ocular inflammation was not well controlled, and we referred her back to a rheumatologist to change her line of treatment. This was a similar case of a patient, SLE patient, who was referred to us by the rheumatologist for ruling out HCQ toxicity because her vision was low and she was on HCQ for a long duration. So this patient had also no evidence of vasculitis when we see her fundus photograph, other than a few cotton wool spots at the in the around the disc. But when we did her fundus fluorescein angiogram, we see that she had active vascularitis in around the disc area, and she had extensive areas of non-perfusion around, beyond the equator and near the macula. So this shows that the macula was being involved, and she had extensive areas of capillary non-perfusion. So we had to change her line of treatment. And if left without treating, it would have led to a painful blind eye. This patient was treated elsewhere as a case of ocular TB with oral steroids. And then she came to us saying that her vision has not improved. So because she had scars, everybody had suspected it was ocular TB. But we see that inferiorly in the right eye, she had exudative retinal detachment. So just to rule out any other causes, we did an OCT for her. We did an FFA for her. And an FFA, it showed that, and her FFA, it showed a multifocal CSR. So this showed that she didn't need oral steroids at all. So we stopped oral steroids and we referred her to the retina clinic, and where she underwent laser and she was better. This was another patient who had complaints of headache and fever and tinnitus and decrease in vision. So by listening to her ocular complaints and serious detachments at the posterior pole, we suspected that she had Ward Koyanagi-Harada syndrome, and we did an OCT for her. And the OCT in both eyes, it showed RP undulations, though it is more prominent in the right eye than in the left eye. But look what we got when we did an FFA for her. The FFA in both the eyes, it showed no features suggestive of VKH, but in the but in the left eye, she had a smokestack pattern and an ink blot pattern. So this patient had got both VKH and CSR for her. We could not treat her with oral steroids at all. So we just treated her with an immunosuppressive drug, and her vision improved significantly, and also her symptoms also reduced. This patient was was a lactating mother, and she was treated outside as a case of septic retinitis. So she also underwent vitreous biopsy and intravitreal antibiotics elsewhere, and the vitreous biopsy had shown no growth. She came back because she had got persistent floaters in her left eye. And the fundus fluorescein angiogram, it showed an early hyperfluorescence and a late hyperfluorescence. But in this patient, an OCT helped us better, where we did an OCT through the lesion, which showed a retinochoroiditis, which was very typical of toxoplasma retinochoroiditis. So we just added her anti-toxoplasma medications and oral steroids, and the patient really improved after that. Now, this patient, he was an HIV positive patient, and he was on ART for a long duration, and his CD4 counts was 110. So he came with complaints of decrease in vision in his left eye. And when we did an OCT for him, the OCT had showed choroiditis, and we suspected ocular TB for him, and we referred him to the ART center for him to be started on ATT, and they evaluated him for TB, and sputum AFB had showed AFP bacilli, and he was treated. So after he was treated with ATT, his choroidal granuloma resolved, but he still had an existing pre-retinal hemorrhage around it. So here we again did an OCT, and the OCT had showed an inflammatory CNVM which had developed. So even though the choroidal granuloma has resolved, if we see any other signs of active inflammation like pre-retinal hemorrhage around the disc, if we do an OCT, it will give us some other important clue which will help in preventing the loss of vision for the patient. This patient, she had complaints of decreased in vision in her left eye. So when we see her fundus photograph, it was completely normal, but her OCT in the right eye and the left eye, it showed subretinal fluid below the macula and a mild choroidal elevation. She did not give any systemic complaints, but she later on told us that she underwent a dental extraction, and following the dental extraction, she had decrease in vision. So, and she had a mild choroidal elevation also subfoveally. So suspecting a choroidal infection in subfoveally, we just gave her a broad spectrum antibiotic, and her infection it resolved completely. So even if though the fundus it looks completely normal, so doing an OCT will in fact give us additional clue and will help in treating the patient. So this patient had complaints of occasional headache in both her eyes, and she was referred by a neurologist to rule out posterior scleritis or any other cause of uveitis. So when do we usually do a B scan in uveitis? When we cannot see the fundus or when we want to assess the RCS thickness, we do a B scan for the patient. But this patient, when we did a B scan, it gave us an additional clue. She had an optic nerve drusen in both her eyes. So this showed that the patient did not need any treatment at all. And the patient was again referred back to her neurologist. So we see that in these case scenarios, how imaging modality has helped us in evaluating the patient. So the take-home message is that these imaging tools, they help in a better clinical decision. It minimizes the errors in the treatment, and it also decreases the delay in the diagnosis. So this indirectly, it improves the quality of life of the patient, and it also ensures a better outcome for all the patients. Thank you.